Welcome back. In our last video, we saw how sin entered the world through Adam and Eve's disobedience. Humanity was cast out of the garden, separated from God under the curse of sin and death. But God had made a promise. A savior would come to crush the serpent's head and restore what was lost. Today, we're going to see how God began to fulfill that promise through one man and his family. His name was Abraham, and his story changes everything. After the fall, humanity continued to spiral into sin. By Genesis chapter 12, the earth was filled with people who had turned away from God. But God chose one man to start something new. His name was Abram, later renamed Abraham. He was living in Ur of the Chaldeans, a pagan city in ancient Mesopotamia. He wasn't looking for God, but God came looking for him. Genesis 12:1-3 records God's call. Get out of your country, from your family and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. This is massive. God made Abraham three incredible promises: first, land; second, descendants; and third, blessing. God would give Abraham and his descendants a specific land, what would become Israel. Second, descendants. God would make Abraham's family into a great nation. Third, blessing. Through Abraham, all the families of the earth would be blessed. This points to Jesus, who brings salvation to all nations. Abraham believed God, and in faith, he packed up everything and left his home, not even knowing where he was going. Hebrews 11:8 says, "By faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out, and he went out, not knowing where he was going." It was a journey of faith that would define his entire life and the history of the world. Years passed, and Abraham still had no son. His wife Sarah was barren, and they were both getting old. How could God's promise come true? But in Genesis 15, God told Abraham to look at the stars. He said, "So shall your descendants be." And Abraham believed in the Lord, and he accounted it to him for righteousness. Abraham wasn't made right with God because of his good works. He was justified by faith. This is the gospel pattern. Then God made a formal covenant. In ancient times, parties would cut animals in half and walk between the pieces together. But here, God alone, represented by a smoking oven and a burning torch, passed between the pieces. This was a unilateral covenant. God was saying, "I will keep this promise. It doesn't depend on you, Abraham. It depends on me." They tried to help God's plan along through Hagar. That son was Ishmael, but he wasn't the son God had promised. Finally, when Abraham was 100 and Sarah 90, God did the impossible. Sarah gave birth to Isaac, which means laughter. Isaac was the son of promise. But then came the greatest test of Abraham's faith. God told him to offer Isaac as a sacrifice. Abraham obeyed. He took Isaac to Mount Moriah, built an altar, and raised the knife. Just before he struck, God stopped him and provided a ram caught in the thicket as a substitute. Isaac was spared. This points forward to Jesus. Just as Abraham was willing to offer his son, God the Father actually did offer his son, Jesus. Isaac grew up and had two sons, Esau and Jacob. Jacob, the deceiver, lived up to his name. Fleeing his brother, Jacob had a dream, a ladder reaching from earth to heaven with angels. God reaffirmed the covenant. Years later, Jacob wrestled with a mysterious man all night. He wouldn't let go until he received a blessing. The man renamed him Israel, which means he struggles with God. Jacob walked with a limp, a reminder of his dependence on grace. Jacob had 12 sons. These 12 sons would become the 12 tribes of Israel. God's nation was taking shape. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, but God used it. He rose to power in Egypt to save many lives. Joseph told his brothers, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Even their sin was woven into God's plan. God chooses by grace, not by merit. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were flawed, but God was faithful. Faith is what matters. Next time, we'll see the Exodus, how God delivered his people from slavery. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.